get the email at 6:47 in the morning. The deal closed. The money is in your account. You read the number twice, then a third time, and for the first time since you were 16 years old, you have absolutely nowhere you need to be today. You assume this is the finish line. You've watched enough people talk about this exact moment. The day work becomes optional, like it's the single greatest thing that can happen to a person. So you lie there in bed, phone in hand, waiting to feel it. The relief, the lightness. And for a while, you do. For about 6 weeks, actually, you feel incredible. You sleep until your body wakes up on its own, which you didn't know was a thing bodies did. You watch people rushing to the train at 8:15 and feel something you're almost embarrassed by, a kind of quiet superiority. You take a trip in the middle of the week just because you can, and you don't post about it, because knowing is enough. Then, somewhere around day 40, something shifts. You can't point to the hour, but the mornings start feeling long instead of open. Here's what's actually happening to you, and it has a name. In 1978, a psychologist named Philip Brickman ran a study that's become one of the most cited findings in happiness research. He compared people who had recently won the lottery to people who hadn't, expecting the winners to report dramatically higher life satisfaction. They didn't. Within roughly a year, lottery winners' day-to-day happiness had settled back down to roughly where it started before the money arrived. Researchers later gave this effect a name: the hedonic treadmill. You adapt to almost anything, good or bad, faster than you think you will. The house gets normal. The freedom gets normal. And once something is normal, it stops generating the feeling you got it for in the first place. But adaptation isn't the whole story here. There's something else happening underneath it. Something that has nothing to do with money at all. Psychologists Edward Deci and Richard Ryan spent decades studying what actually makes people feel like their lives have direction. And they kept landing on the same 3 ingredients, regardless of income, culture, or age. Autonomy, a sense of choosing your own path. Competence, the sense of getting better at something that matters. And relatedness, a sense of being needed by other people. Their research is called self-determination theory. And the uncomfortable implication for you, sitting in your very expensive apartment at noon, still in yesterday's clothes, is this: a job was never just a paycheck. For most of your adult life, it was quietly supplying 2 of those 3 ingredients without you ever noticing. You went in every day and got a little better at something. People needed you there specifically, not generically. Take away the job, and you don't just lose the income. You lose the delivery system for 2 of the 3 things your brain actually runs on. This is why you start making lists just to have something to check off. Reorganize the closet. Learn Spanish. Read the books on the shelf you bought and never opened. You do none of them for more than 3 days, and it isn't laziness. Competence and relatedness don't show up because you have free time. They show up because something requires you repeatedly in a way that has consequences if you don't Notice what happens at dinner too. Someone asks what you've been up to, and nothing really comes out sounding like a confession. Whatever I want comes out sounding like a lie you're telling to cover for the fact that you don't actually know what you want anymore. That discomfort has a name as well. Sociologists call it role loss, the disorientation that follows when a socially recognized identity disappears and nothing has stepped in to replace it. It's the same phenomenon researchers have documented for decades in early retirees, particularly ones who retire suddenly rather than gradually. The pattern shows up again and again. People who leave work abruptly with no transitional structure report higher rates of depression and lower life satisfaction in the following 2 years than people who ease out slowly, even when the sudden retirees are, on paper, considerably wealthier, and worse off. That's not a contradiction. That's the treadmill and the lost delivery system working together. You start missing things you used to complain about. The Monday meeting. The inside jokes with people you saw more than your own family. Even the deadlines, the forced external proof that today mattered to somebody besides you. Freedom removed the walls. Nobody told you it wouldn't tell you what to build in their place 6 months in. Alone at 2 in the morning on the floor of an apartment you own outright. You ask yourself a question you never had time to ask when you were working 60 hours a week. If nothing is required of you, who exactly are you? This is the part almost nobody puts in the fantasy. Not the money, not the sleeping in. The identity you didn't realize was borrowed, dissolving the moment the thing you borrowed it from is gone. Here's the part that should actually change how you think about this. Tal Ben-Shahar, a researcher who studies exactly this phenomenon, calls it the arrival fallacy, the deeply held, almost universal belief that reaching a particular destination will produce a permanent state of fulfillment. It never does. Not because the destination was wrong, but because fulfillment was never something you arrive at. It's something you generate continuously through autonomy, competence, and being needed. Money can remove every obstacle standing between you and that generator. It cannot run the generator for you. It takes almost a year before you understand the actual lesson. The money didn't fail you. It just stopped asking you to have a purpose. And it turns out purpose was never something a job gave you for free. It was something you'd outsourced to one, without ever noticing the arrangement. Months later, you're back on that same balcony from the first week, at the same time of day. Nothing about the view has changed. But you're doing something now, something deliberately chosen, not to fill the hours, but because it makes you better at something and someone else is counting on you for it. You still don't have anywhere you have to be. For the first time, though, you have somewhere you choose to be. Money can buy you out of a schedule. It cannot buy you a reason to get up in the morning. That part, it turns out, you still have to build yourself.